Okay, so what if I told you that our biggest economic headaches, the constant instability, the growing inequality, what if they're not actually caused by greedy CEOs or bumbling politicians? What if the problem is much deeper, like a fundamental flaw in the design of the whole system? Well, today we're going to dive into a pretty radical new blueprint for capitalism. It's a complete re-engineering of the economy's architecture, and it's all based on the fascinating work of the Institute for Regenerative Systems Architecture.
This quote right here, this is the whole key. Seriously, think about it for a second. You have a nonprofit that wants to change the world, or a company with this amazing ethical purpose. But what happens? Over time, those goals just kind of get watered down, right? They get eroded by market pressures, by new leadership coming in, or just by the sheer passage of time. It's like the purpose itself is fragile. Why? Because the container we put it in, the actual structure of the institution, is basically designed to leak. It's like trying to carry water in a bucket full of holes.
And that's the whole point here. This isn't about pointing fingers and blaming bad guys in the market or in government. Nope, this is an architectural diagnosis. The argument is that our systems are literally designed in a way that pretty much guarantees they'll drift off course, they'll decay. And in the end, they'll fail to do what they were set up to do in the long run. All right, Section 1, a problem of architecture. So what does it actually mean to look at our economy like it's a building with a flawed blueprint? Let's really dig into that.
And this is where the Institute for Regenerative Systems Architecture, we'll just call them ISRAA, comes into the picture. Now, these guys aren't just trying to put duct tape on a broken system. They're not patching holes. They're going back to the drawing board and creating entirely new blueprints for the absolute foundations of our economy. We're talking about capital, governance, the whole shebang. The goal? To build institutions that can actually last for decades, not just for a few chaotic years.
Okay, moving on. Capitalism's timing problem. So what is this big architectural flaw they've identified? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental clash, a conflict of time.
This right here, this visual, nails the core problem perfectly. On the left, you've got all the short-term, totally chaotic cycles that run our world, right? You've got the financial markets going up and down, political cycles that are just a few years long, and donor funding that can dry up at any moment. Then, look at the right side. That's the long-term cycle. That's how long it actually takes to build something that lasts, to grow a forest, to build a strong community, to develop some breakthrough technology. These two timelines, they're not just a little out of sync. They are fundamentally at war with each other.
And here's the kicker. This is the unavoidable result. The quote says it all. When capital follows fragility, institutions are mathematically guaranteed to decay. I mean, let that sink in. It's not a maybe, it's not a possibility, it's a mathematical certainty. It is baked right into the design. So again, this isn't about bad managers making bad decisions. It's a straight-up failure of the architecture.
So, the regenerative blueprint. If the old blueprint is fundamentally broken, what does the new one look like? Well, IRSA proposes a solution that's built in 4 distinct layers, kind of like a tech stack, one built on top of the other.
Layer 1 is the foundation, capital architecture, and it all starts with a whole new kind of money called perpetual social capital, or PSC. Now, this isn't your typical capital. It's not debt that you have to pay back with interest. It's not equity that demands a return for shareholders. No, this is a totally new class of capital. It has one job: to fuel long-term missions without sucking the value out of them. You can think of it as capital designed to nourish a system, not to deplete it. Okay, on top of that capital, we have Layer 2, temporal physics. This is where we get the new rules for how time works in this system. This framework, called regenerative cycle architecture, basically gives us a formal way to draw a line in the sand. It separates the institution's true mission cycle, the actual time it needs to do its work, from all that external, chaotic noise we were just talking about. Now for Layer 3, the operator calculus. This is where we get the actual tools to manage that separation. And you can think of them like a combination of a financial circuit breaker and a really smart valve. The first tool, decoupling, is the shield. It protects the institution from all that outside chaos. The second tool, alignment, is the smart valve. It makes sure the perfect amount of capital flows to the mission at exactly the right time. And finally, Layer 4 is about outcomes. So you're probably wondering, if you're not optimizing for profit anymore, how in the world do you measure success? Well, you need a new scorecard, and that's the Regeneration Index, or R-star. This thing doesn't care about short-term profits. Instead, it measures an institution's ability to stay healthy and actually grow its capability over the long haul. It asks a really simple question. Is this system getting stronger over time, or is it getting weaker?
Okay, let's get into the mechanics. The tools, decouple and align. We're going to zoom in on the real engine of this new architecture, these two master tools, the operators that make this whole thing tick.
So the first tool is the decoupling operator. Its job is to be that shield we talked about. It's designed to neutralize 4 universal fragilities that just plague our institutions today. First, it cuts out the chaos of financial markets. Second, it protects against the instability of political turnover. Third, it combats the natural decay of skills and knowledge. And fourth, it even helps buffer against broader civic instability. It's a pretty powerful shield. Now, once an institution is protected by that shield, it can finally start aligning its capital with what it actually needs. This is where the alignment operator comes in. It synchronizes the capital with the mission based on 3 key things. First is the period. How often does it need fresh resources? Second is the phase. What's the exact timing for that? And third is the amplitude. Is it getting a big enough amount to do the job? It's really all about getting the right resources at the right time in the right amount. Simple as that.
And this slide, this puts the whole transformation flow into one picture. It's so cool. You start on the left with a fragile system, right? It's volatile, it's extractive. Then, step 2, you apply the decoupling tool to build that protective shield from all the chaos. Step 3, once it's stable, you use the alignment tool to perfectly sync up the capital with the mission. And the result? You get to step 4, regeneration, a system that actually gains capability and gets stronger over time. It's the whole process, right there.
Okay, so this is where it gets really big. A new kind of economy. What happens when you take this architecture and you don't just apply it to one institution, but you scale it up to an entire economic system?
Well, what you get is a fundamental shift in the entire goal of the economy. The old model we're in now, it's all about optimizing for extraction, and we measure that with things like GDP. In this new regenerative model, the whole goal is renewal, and you measure its success by a system's capability, by its IRSA score. And get this, the result is that markets could actually become a stabilizing force instead of the destabilizing mess they often are today.
Which brings us back to the Regeneration Index, R*. This is that new way of measuring success, and its real power is that it's universal. You could use it to measure the health of a hospital, a city, heck, an entire ecosystem. It just boils down to 3 simple questions. 1. Is the system decoupled from chaos? 2. Is it aligned with its purpose? And the big one, 3. Is its ability to actually fulfill that purpose growing or shrinking over time? And you know, this is the really important part. This isn't just some sci-fi fantasy. The architecture is fully built out, and there are already pilot programs forming with real-world institutions like banks and hospitals. This is happening now. People are actively exploring how to build these structures today.
This quote really just gets to the heart of it all. The limitations are not technical, they are conceptual. All the tools, all the math, it exists. The biggest roadblock isn't an engineering problem, it's an imagination problem. It's just about our ability to see that a different way of structuring our world is even possible. And the people behind this say that once you do see this new architecture, it's impossible to unsee it. It just becomes inevitable.
So we want to leave you with this final thought, a question to really chew on. What if our economy was actually designed for renewal instead of for extraction? What would that world look like? What kind of society could we build if our most important institutions weren't just designed to survive, but were designed to actually regenerate and get stronger, year after year?